One Piece is so unrealistic. How did Luffy not at least get a scar from this? Never seen Naruto pull something like this. So you're saying this is unrealistic with a show that's already made itself out to be non-realistic. Luffy is the same character who literally drank milk and regrew a tooth. If we wanted to play that card saying, oh well, Luffy should have had a scar from this because it was a significant injury, then every significant injury that Luffy's ever gotten, this is how many scars that Luffy would have. Oda is not drawing all that. Nobody is drawing all that.
Had 2 children. They had to hear, your mom is ugly. Your mom is a monster.
In 1999, experienced skydiver 47-year-old Joan Murray leapt from a plane at 14,500 feet on her 36th dive in the state of South Carolina. As she began falling at the speed of 80 miles an hour towards the ground, she pulled her parachute cord, but to her horror, nothing happened. She remained calm and while now just 700 feet away from the ground, pulled her backup cord, which opened. But due to the fact she had already began spinning and spiraling through the air, never had a chance to fully open and operate in the correct way. According to experts, there is a 0% chance of survival once falling from anything above 80 feet, and so Murray smacked into the Earth's base at 80 miles an hour, knocking out her teeth and shattering multiple bones as she did. But miraculously, a 1 in a million landing spot saved her life. She hit smack dab in the middle of a humongous fire ant mound. Quickly becoming covered in almost 1,000 red ants, and was reportedly bitten over 200 times along her neck and back as she remained conscious through it all, but unable to move. According to doctors, the 200 doses of venom shocked Murray's body, pumping her blood full of enough adrenaline to keep her heart beating until medics arrived. She was later placed into a coma, and after 17 blood transfusions and 20 surgeries, she was healed, only to skydive once again just 2 years after the nightmare.
Let's talk about this couple who cheated on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and thought they got away with it.
You just won $1 million!
This all happened in 2001 when Charles Ingram was a contestant on the show, while his wife Diana and a man named Tequan Whitcock were in the audience helping him cheat the entire time. So how exactly did they notice that Charles was cheating? Well, throughout the entire show, the sound technician noticed a loud coughing coming from the audience at specific times after Charles spoke.
I don't think it's an animal. Megatron, mega, yeah. I don't think it's Megatron. I'm sure it's Google.
After reviewing the footage, they noticed that the coughing came specifically from Tequan and Diana whenever Charles mentioned the right answer after the 4 options. They were able to catch a total of 19 coughs, which came from his wife and Tequan, which signaled the correct answers. But not only that, Charles' strategy throughout the game was very odd because he would state the 4 options out loud, and it was clear that he didn't know the answer, but somehow he always got it right. Then what producers found strange was that after Charles got every question right and won £1 million, he was seen arguing with his wife backstage. At the time Charles left the set, they began investigating and they did not hand over the money to him. All 3 of them were found guilty of conspiring to cheat, but till this day they've maintained their innocence, and Tequan still argues that his coughing was because he had allergies and it was all a coincidence. Ultimately, if Charles didn't cheat, he would have only won £1,000 that night.
A school bus filled with 26 children, all kidnapped and buried alive. This is the largest case of mass kidnapping in American history. The Chowchilla kidnapping. This is one of the most bizarre true crime cases. You're gonna think that I'm telling you the plot of a movie. Ed Ray was the school bus driver that fateful day in California in 1976. He's driving his normal bus route. He's driving on a more rural stretch of land when he notices a white van stopped in the middle of the road. Thinking that maybe they're experiencing some kind of car trouble, he pulls over to try and help them, and that's when two men get out of the van. They have nylon stockings over their heads and they're carrying large weapons, and they start approaching the school bus. Ed has 26 children on his school bus, ranging in ages from 5 years old to 14 years old, and he's terrified if he makes one wrong move that these men are going to open fire on all these children. So for the time being, he complies with whatever they say. The two men hijack the school bus and begin driving it away, while a third kidnapper is following behind them in the white van. They drove to a secluded area, and that's when they loaded the 26 children and the school bus driver Ed into two vans, and then they drove those vans 12 hours. And the back of the vans are completely boarded up, so they're in these vans for 12 hours in total darkness. Can you even imagine the fear and confusion? Ed is the only adult in the situation, trying his best to be responsible for 26 children, try and keep them calm and keep them safe. And meanwhile, back home, dozens of parents are realizing that their children have not come home from school. The authorities find the school bus just abandoned in that secluded area, and now there's massive panic. Everyone knew about this for miles. Could you even imagine 26 children and their bus driver just all vanishing into thin air? And the phone lines are absolutely being blown up with hundreds of calls. People are calling in with tips or theories. The media is calling. Concerned family members and community members are calling. The phones are ringing off the hook. Meanwhile, the children and Ed have been in the back of this van driving for 12 hours. They're taken over 100 miles away from home. And then the van stops. And the three men, they come, open the door, and they take Ed, and then they slam the door. And then a while later, they go back and they take another child and then slam the door. And then a bit later, they go and take another child and they slam the door, and this continues. And the people, the children that are still left in the van, have no idea what's happening to their friends or if they're even alive. Luckily, they were all alive. The three kidnappers took them all, each one by one, asked them what their names were, then made them remove what they were wearing, and then directed them to climb down into a hole that they had buried underground. The three kidnappers had buried a small moving van underground, and it was small, 27 feet long, and now there's 27 people in it. There was dirty mattresses on the ground, a small amount of food and water, and then the kidnappers took one single roll of toilet paper, threw it down at them, and then told the 26 children and Ed that they would be back for them later, and then covered the hole with a manhole grate. I keep going back to how terrifying this situation would be for anyone, but this is happening to children as young as 5 years old. And then they hear dirt being thrown on top of that manhole cover. They are being buried alive 12 feet underground. And you're probably all wondering what kind of monsters are doing this. Well, you might be surprised to learn that these three kidnappers are all in their early 20s and extremely wealthy. For context, the ringleader in this mass kidnapping scheme, Fred Woods' family made $80 million the year this happened in 1976, which would be almost $400 million in today's money. And Fred's accomplices were brothers named James and Richard Schoenfeld, and they also came from a wealthy family, but all three men were lazy and did not want to work and were being cut off from daddy's money. They're all in massive debt, but they're lazy. They don't want to work. They want a get-rich-quick scheme, and that's how they came up with the idea to kidnap a school bus full of children so they could ask the state of California for a $5 million ransom for the children's safe return. And they planned this out for about a year and a half. And after they buried the 26 children and Ed underground, they went back home to call the authorities and make the ransom demand. But remember, the phones are ringing off the hook with those hundreds of calls of tips and the media and concerned citizens. So their call for ransom demand could not go through. The three men decided that they were just going to try and call later. And in the meantime, they would take a little nap. You know, they had such a long day, but they napped so long, in fact, that Ed and the 26 children had been buried underground for over 12 hours. And they were running out of air. The small amount of food and water that the kidnappers had left for them, it was gone. The chances of them even getting out of this hole alive to be given up for ransom were looking slim. It had been over 12 hours and the kidnappers never came back like they said they would, and this just shows the amount of bravery and the will to survive that these children had, because they were going to get out of here. They began stacking those mattresses that were thrown on the ground on top of each other, and then started to stand on each other's shoulders so they could reach that manhole cover 12 feet above them. The oldest of the children was a 14-year-old boy named Michael Marshall, and he was able to kind of wiggle the manhole a little bit. So Ed, the bus driver, he climbs up and he holds it open to him just a little bit so that Michael was able to go in and wedge a piece of wood so he's able to wiggle the manhole actually off. The kidnappers had also put a heavy wooden box on top of the manhole, so 14-year-old Michael starts bashing at the wood and tearing at it with his bare hands until 16 hours after they were first imprisoned, he sees sunlight. 14-year-old Michael has just freed them. He's so brave because he's the first one to leave the hole, and he has no idea if the kidnappers are going to be out there waiting for him. And then Ed lifts each child one by one to Michael until they're all free. All 27 of them are outside of the hole, and now they're looking around and they're in the middle of nowhere. There's just rolling California hills surrounding all of them. They're in this like mining area. They actually have been buried under a rock quarry, and there was an employee at the rock quarry that was about to go home. His shift was over, and he sees these 26 children and Ed just wandering around and realizes that they are the kidnapped children that everyone's been talking about. And when Dumb and Dumber finally wake up from their nap, they see on the news that, oh, all our kidnapping victims have been found alive. They tried to flee the country. It was actually extremely easy to identify that these men were the ones who did this because the rock quarry that they were all buried under, it belonged to Fred's father, and Fred had been seen by multiple employees digging holes at the rock quarry, and since Fred really only hung out with the Schoenfeld brothers, they were easy suspects. And their homes were just filled with evidence, including all of the kidnapped children's names just written on a fast food bag. They found a draft of the ransom letter, and then they also found a document just titled Plan that documented and described all of their plan in a lot of detail. All three men were eventually brought into custody and charged with 27 counts of kidnapping and 5 counts of kidnapping with bodily harm. A lot of the children were actually brave enough to testify and face their kidnappers, and all three men were found guilty of all charges and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But all three men were able to successfully appeal the bodily harm charges because, you know, technically they didn't like beat them or anything. But all, or at least most of the children and Ed suffered with lifelong PTSD, trauma, anxiety, on top of the fact that they almost died down in that hole and they had to fight their way out to survive. But the court system decided that they did not count as bodily harm enough. So their sentences were all reduced to life in prison with the possibility of parole, and today all men have been released on parole. Richard was released in 2012, James was released in 2015, and Fred was released pretty recently in 2022. I know you guys are gonna have a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts about this case. If you guys are still with me, thank you, because I know this was a long one. I'm gonna be reading all your guys' comments, replying to as many as I can. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions on this case. I know they'll be strong. And also while you're there, let me know what case you want to see me cover next. I love you guys so much. You have no idea, and I will see you tomorrow.
I saw this TikTok. Did you see that? The lemon girl? The glitch in the Matrix that happened?
No, what?
Yo, this is crazy. Listen to this, Lo. This chick was working at a restaurant. There's a camera on her, right?
Yeah.
She takes a lemon. She cuts it in half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Puts that half down, puts that half down. Takes a knife again. Cuts this half in half. You see it go through the lemon.
Yeah.
Out. She walks away. She comes back. The camera hasn't moved. She picks up that lemon and it wasn't cut. And she went like, and she cut it again and put it in a bag. And then she got the video. She's like, I cut it. She's like, how was it together again?
That it would just trip me out so much.
And she's like, this is a glitch in the Matrix, man. She started doing all these posts on TikTok. Her TikTok got banned.
Why?
Are you serious?
They said it was because of her age, that because she was 16 and like wasn't allowed to have a TikTok.
Wait.
And then she's like, what? And so she got on her mom's TikTok and started talking about it again. Her mom's TikTok got banned. What does that mean?
What is that? What does that mean?
What does it mean?
I thought this was going to be a really disturbing film based on the opening scene alone. And have you ever wanted to see Jim Carrey deep in a as he while she is asking him to her, her, and her, to then be shown an aggressive Jim Carrey face as he ejaculates and cries? No? Me neither, but that's what we get. My name's Ricky, I love horror movies, and this is Dark Crimes. This movie flew under my radar for a long time. It was released back in 2016 and is a dark psychological thriller starring Jim Carrey. It also stars one of my favourite actors, Charlotte Gainsbourg, And there are two very disturbing points throughout this film. The first is the opening scene to this movie. It's very dark, it's very grim, and it sets up a dark tone that we hope travels throughout the rest of the film. The second disturbing point in this film is watching Jim Carrey do it. The movie is set in Poland, and it's about a police detective who has reopened a cold case that he previously worked on. The case originally went unsolved, and for reasons unexplained, Jim Carrey's character was demoted to essentially just a data input person for the police force. But he finds new evidence and they open the case again. That's as far as I'm going to go in regards to plot with this film. Like I said, the opening to this film is really grim, and I really hoped that the whole film was going to be like this, but it simply isn't the case. This film falls flat in many regards. It's slow, but bad slow. It's predictable, it's very cliched as well, and I hate to say, but veers into being quite boring at times, or a lot of the time. We don't have any really likable characters in this movie, and sometimes when we're watching a dark, serious, psychological thriller, it can be too dark and too serious, and I feel like that tension needs to be broken somewhere along the line with tiny bits of comedy, but we don't get that. It's intense all the way through. But I think Jim Carrey is the main problem in this film. I don't know why he was cast for this movie. It feels like they cast him and then they had to translate Polish into English because the dialogue is very, very clunky. And Jim Carrey just takes focus away from everything else because he's Jim Carrey. Charlotte Gainsbourg is one of my favourite actors of all time, but even she is very muted in this film because it's so bland. Jim Carrey's accent in this film is really distracting because he's trying to put on a Polish accent, but he sounds Irish for the most part. I feel like this film could have been better if they didn't cast Jim Carrey and they cast a Polish actor and the whole film was in Polish. But I'm sorry to say that I won't be watching this again. I didn't get much out of it, and in my opinion, they dropped the ball.
What this girl did to herself will make you feel physically sick. This is one of the most shocking cases of psychosis I've ever heard. On February the 6th, 2018, Kaylee Muthart was using substances. She was high on M after a 48-hour binge. She ended up stumbling down the road next to a railway track. In her substance-induced state, she believed that she needed to save the world, and in order to do so, she needed to make a sacrifice. Horrifically, she believed that she needed to scrape her eyeballs out of her head or everybody would die. So that's exactly what she did. With her bare hands, she removed her own eyeballs. She then squashed them into her hands while a passerby struggled to restrain her. She was airlifted to hospital in South Carolina. She is now obviously completely blind, but thankfully is sober. She's a mother to a toddler and she wants to help people through them hearing her story.
Daddy Longlegs. Let's talk about the theory that he's Lee's secret biological father. For starters, when Lee has to do the FBI intuition test, they're showing her all these pictures and telling her to say the first word that comes to her mind. Lee says father when she sees an inverted gray and white triangle. This is obviously a nod to the inverted triangle 666 birth chart that Longlegs is trying to complete with all of the birthdays. But that's not all. When Longlegs gives Lee all of these very specific clues for how to figure him out and how to get to the next location, she goes to the barn where they find the satanic doll. But there is a note with the doll, and it's the only note that's not signed Longlegs. It's signed inverted triangle, smiley face, almost like love dad. But not only that, Lee and her mother are the only family that Longlegs attacks that doesn't have a father figure. Which is interesting because the whole point of the satanic trance is for the father to annihilate the families and then himself. But there's no dad for Lee. And yeah, Lee doesn't remember him, but that's the whole point. The satanic doll decides what they want Lee to remember based off of what Longlegs wants to depict. Another point of this argument is that it's not extremely literal that Longlegs is her father. Maybe it is Satan himself that is her father. Note how when she's talking to her mother, she always says that the prayers scared her and she could never do them. It's also worth noting that Lee says that she didn't want to be an FBI agent when she was a little girl, and Longlegs comments on he was very happy the day that she decided to be an FBI agent. But we, the audience, know the doll is in control for a lot of her decisions and where she gets pushed. So was that just his idea? But I don't know. Do you see the resemblance?
A 4-minute video went viral earlier this year showing what some thought to be a fake prison cell, an inmate and a prison officer getting intimate. The video was in fact real, and the story behind what happened is shocking. The prison officer in the video is 30-year-old Linda De Sousa Abreu from Fulham. She was in fact very much a real prison officer. The inmate that was seen in the video was Linton Weirch, who was convicted of burglary and theft. Now, he was spending 5 years behind bars. Another inmate filmed the pair together, and some spotted that Linda appeared to be wearing a wedding ring. Linton is also believed to have a pregnant girlfriend on the outside. Linda is believed to make money off an explicit social media account that I can't name. When the video was released, she was tracked down at an airport where she was trying to get on a plane to Spain to visit family. She was arrested and her passport was confiscated. She has pleaded guilty to 1 count of something called misconduct in a public office, and has told people that since the incident she has found God.
Hey, baby.
Wait.
Hey, what's up?
Baby.
What's wrong, baby? I know. I'm hurting, baby. Are you about to tell me you can't talk to me no more or something? You about to break my heart again? You've done it before.
I won't do it. Okay.
All right.
Wait.
Baby,
Why?
I know, dude. I know, Mila.
Why? We had everything. You were off.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Baby, you were off.
I know, baby. I know.
Why?
I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry.
Why?
I'm sorry, Mila. I'm sorry, baby.
Why? You were off. I kept saying to you, listen, you're done. Like, you're off. Wait, you're off.
Yeah,
Why?
I know.
Why?
I don't know, Mila. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry.
I hate you.
I know you do.
You were just done. You were done. Wait, you were done.
I know. I was free. I know.
You were done. Our lives could have been different. Way different.
I know, baby. I know that. I know. I'm sorry, baby. Mila.
Wait, I don't understand.
I know. I know.
Why?
I have to understand, like, I've done this not to just myself. I've done this to you too, Mila. I know. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so fucking sorry, dude. I can't even believe, like, what I've done. Don't cry, baby. It's okay. It's okay, baby.
Wait,
Baby,
stop. You again.
No, don't say that. Why? Don't say, baby, you can see me again. You can see me again. One day we can see each other again, baby. Yeah, we can. I mean, it's not going to be the place I want.
We're going to get off. Get something.
What, baby?
Please insanity or something. What is wrong with you?
What are you, can you hear me?
Plead insanity.
Huh? What, baby?
Plead insanity.
I am. No, baby, I'm going to, baby. That's what I'm doing. Baby, I'm going to. I might still, baby, there might still be a chance for me. I'm not done yet. That's what I'm not done just yet, baby. I can plead insanity, seriously. Mila, I'm so fucking, I love you so much, you know.
You're a little fucking bitch, Kelly.
Yeah.
Texted me today because I don't have any of my numbers, and I said, I'm sorry, I lost all my contacts. Who is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Kelly. I'm mad that you took it back. And she said, she kept telling my friends, oh, we had a different relationship, like trying to like say that you and her had a different relationship. I said, bitch, don't give yourself any compliments, you fucking fat whore.
Is she really trying to fucking do that, Mila?
Yeah, I said, don't give yourself any I texted her. Don't
hey, baby.
give yourself any compliments, you fat fucking whore.
You tell her. I love you, baby. Hey,
and then,
Mila.
Oh, it's just because you you are pretty. She said, you are pretty, but you had the most money. And I said, don't even.
Actually, baby, every time that me and you've been together, we've been pretty broke. We haven't had a lot of money.
She doesn't know that.
She doesn't know that, though, yeah.
She keeps looking at the news, like, ad money and stuff.
Baby, can I tell you something, though? I wanted to tell you something. Did you add me on that machine or whatever? That kiosk thing?
I've been drunk ever since.
Listen, I have people like contacting me on that machine, trying to like message me and stuff on there.
You're fucking Ted Bundy right now.
Apparently so. You know? Don't laugh. Baby, don't laugh. Baby, see, I need you to be strong with me, because let me tell you something. There's two things that are going to happen, okay? There's going to be two things that happen. One, they're going to find me not guilty by reason of insanity, okay? Or two, they're going to fucking kill me. They're going to give me the fucking lethal injection.
Wait, stop. Why did you say the needle?
Are you going to leave me?
Stop.
Because I feel like I'm going to lose you, and then I don't. Mila, you're the only thing I care about in this world, and you know that. You know how much I care for you.
You don't care about me.
Mila, you stop that bullshit right now. You quit the bullshit. You don't care about me, you fucker.
Shut up.
I love you, baby. I know you care.
And then, like, trying to pull me in the dead girl's car. Like, you're the worst fighting killer ever.
That was the worst. That was the worst ever. Yeah, it was. That was the worst kill ever, for sure. For sure, definitely.
Own, like, there's, you know,
shut up.
Fingerprints here. You're not driving her car. Wait.
Well, my car was out of gas, motherfucker. So had to use hers.
You don't even know how to drive a stick shift.
I can't even drive the stick shift. You're right, baby. I can't. You're right.
You actually are driving that car around.
Hey, at least she wasn't in the trunk while I was driving around. At least she was not in the trunk while I was driving around.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome for that.
But my body probably would have been in the trunk now.
Shut the fuck up! I knew you were gonna say that. Shut the fuck up, Mila. That's such a bullshit ass lie. That is such a bullshit. I hate you too. I hate you so fucking much too. I hate you. I hate the shit out of you too, baby. Hey, baby, I need your help. You're gonna do something for me because you love the shit out of me. Send me some food, please. Send me some motherfucking food, nigga. Please.
Apple is reporting that the iPhone 16 is going to be the last of its kind. If you haven't noticed, the last 5 iPhones have basically looked exactly the same. So allegedly, the next iPhone is actually going to be called the iPhone Slim. So right after the iPhone 16, we're not going to have an iPhone 17. And this new slim design is going to allow for the iPhone to actually fold. And given that sales have dropped, given that most people believe they really don't need a new phone, this might be a reason to get one. A lot of this is actually rumored right now, so make sure you're following and I'll update you with anything new that comes out about it.
Did you know the opening to this horror film was based on a crazy true crime case? The opening scene of Jeepers Creepers features 2 people driving down the road with a van tailgating them. It's a scene that is reminiscent of a reenactment done on the Unsolved Mysteries program in 1991. The case in question involves Ray and Marie Thompson, siblings who were just driving down the road one day outside of Michigan. In their rearview mirror, they noticed a suspicious van. Now, the van initially passed them and they did notice that he seemed to be in a hurry. Shortly after, they passed the van again, but this time they noticed it was parked outside an abandoned schoolhouse. The driver appeared to be holding a blood-soaked sheet. Although they did drive past, yet again they noticed the van shortly after in their rearview mirror. It was driving aggressively close to them for the next 2 miles, just like the opening scene in Jeepers Creepers. The siblings turned off the highway and discussed what they should do. They decided to turn the car back around and try and get a good view of the number plate to report to the police. However, when they approached the van again, they noticed that the mystery man was crouching down and changing the number plates. They were also shocked to see inside the open door of the van was covered in blood. They immediately called police, who were actually already on the hunt for the male van driver and his wife. Dennis Depew was the man in question. In 1971, he had married Marilyn. They did have 3 children together, but Dennis was very controlling. Marilyn filed for divorce in 1989 and Dennis moved out. However, Dennis would regularly freak Marilyn out by letting himself into the house. One day she came home to find him sat on the sofa, even though she had changed all of the locks. On Easter Sunday, 1990, Dennis arrived at her house to collect 2 of the children. However, Dennis became angry at Marilyn during the visit and ended up pushing her down the stairs. With their children watching on in horror, Dennis beat Marilyn and dragged her out of the house. Their eldest daughter ran to a neighbor's house to try and ring police, but it was too late. Dennis drove off with Marilyn in the van, lying to his children that he was taking her to the hospital. Responding to the eyewitness reports, the forensic team taped off the schoolhouse crime scene. They discovered Marilyn's body the day after by the roadside. She had been shot in the head. Police were now on the hunt for Dennis as he drove across the country. On March the 20th, a woman returned to her house to see her boyfriend's van on the drive. She believed that her boyfriend's name was Hank. He told her that he needed to rush home as his mum was very unwell. Meanwhile, the TV in the house was playing an Unsolved Mysteries episode. The episode featured news of a man called Dennis who was wanted for murder. Hank, whose real name was Dennis, was desperately trying to distract his girlfriend from the episode. He was terrified that if she saw the TV, she would recognize him. At this point, Dennis drove off, but the police were on his tail. A 15-mile high-speed car chase ensued. Officers rammed his van and forced him off the road, but seconds later, Dennis pulled the trigger and unalived himself.
This is the youngest woman in America to ever be put on death row. Christa Pike. Wow, where do I even start? Christa was born with severe brain damage because her mother was drinking pretty heavily throughout her entire pregnancy, and Christa had a terrible childhood. I'm not even gonna lie. Her parents were neglectful and abusive. Christa was often bounced around from mom's house, dad's house, grandparents' house, and they all sucked. By the time that Christa was 15 years old, she had been essayed by multiple men, and this abuse started as early as when Christa was 2 years old, and one of these men even included their dog in the essay of 12-year-old Christa. By the time that Christa was 18 years old, she was a high school dropout. She spent some time in juvie, but she said that she wanted to turn her life around, so she joined Job Corps. If you're not familiar with what this was a government-funded program where troubled teens and early adults could live on this campus all together. They would finish their education, learn skills, so hopefully one day they could have a great career. But only after a few days on campus, Christa met 17-year-old Daryl Shipp, and they started this relationship. It was extremely toxic. Daryl was really into a lot of really weird, dark, creepy things, and this toxic, abusive relationship that they had completely distracted them from what they went to Job Corps to do, which was better their lives. Christa also started this feud, you could say, with another girl on campus, 19-year-old Colleen Schlemmer. Colleen was at Job Corps for all the right reasons. She really did want to better her life and have a great career one day with computers. That was her dream. But Colleen was sucked into this petty teenage drama by Christa. Christa was convinced that Colleen wanted her man to Daryl and that Colleen was obsessed with her man. But if anyone in this case is obsessed with anyone, Christa was obsessed with Colleen. She was always talking about her, how much she hated her. She was pretty much stalking her around campus, threatening her and bullying her all the time. And then one day in January of 1999, Christa goes up to Colleen and asks if they want to call a truce, and asked her if she actually wanted to hang out that night, kind of like a peace offering. So that night, 18-year-old Christa, her boyfriend, 17-year-old Daryl, and their friend, 18-year-old Shadola Peterson, all lured 19-year-old Colleen off of campus, and then once they were alone in this creepy part of the woods that was like off of a park, Daryl and Crystal attacked Colleen, while Shadola kind of stood back and was used as a lookout. This attack on Colleen lasted over 45 minutes and it was brutal. They were kicking her, beating her. They used a sharp weapon on her 300 times, and then they were dropping these big cement blocks on her until Colleen's skull was completely fractured. Christa even took a piece of the skull back to campus with her and was showing people and bragging to anyone that would listen about what she had just done. Christa has just unalived Colleen over jealousy over a boy, Daryl, that Christa had only known for 3 months. This was all over a 3-month-long relationship. And for some reason, all of these kids on campus that Christa is bragging to that she just unalived Colleen did not tell anyone until Colleen's body was found 2 days later. In police custody, all 3 of them were arrested, obviously, and they all made full confessions. And Christa was smiling the entire time, like she was totally pleased with herself. Since Chowchilla didn't actually have any physical involvement, technically, in the unaliving of Colleen, she walked away with only probation. To Daryl, who was only 17 years old at the time, was sentenced to life in prison with possibility of parole in 2026, which is not that long away, but personally, I don't think there's any chance that they will let him out. And Christa, who was only 18 years old when she unalived Colleen, tried to blame her actions on her bad childhood. We hear that all the time. She was sentenced to death row and was the youngest woman in America to ever be sentenced to death. And Christa, who to this day has never shown any emotion or remorse for Colleen and Colleen's family, cried. She cried a lot. She bawled her eyes out when she found out that she was going to be sentenced to death. Christa also said that she did not think that she deserved to die, but Colleen did. Because you were insecure about your 3-month-long relationship? Like, girl, please. And to only further prove how heartless Christa is, only a few days after she was sentenced, she sent to Daryl this letter. I'll put part of it on the screen now so you can pause and read it, but it's disgusting, and you will see. There is not an official date set to unalive Christa, but there's been a lot of talk recently to actually set a date since this happened all the way back in 1995. So if you want updates on that, you can always follow me. I'm constantly updating on the cases that we cover. There has been some controversy. Some people believe that Christa at 18 years old was too young for her sentence. Also considering that Daryl was 17. So, you know, a year, actually only a few months younger than Christa. They received life in prison versus, you know, the death penalty. So why is 17 so different than 18? You can let me know what you think about that. Personally, I think that Christa is exactly where she should be. But that's completely my opinion, and I'm open to read all of your guys' opinions in the comments. I'm always reading my comments that you guys leave me. You guys always make up a lot of good points. You guys always have a lot of good, you know, points, thoughts, theories, questions, comments. So I love to read you guys' comments. So definitely let me know all your thoughts about this case, all of your opinions, and let me know what case you want to see me cover next. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.
What really happened to Grace VanderWaal? It was only a few short years ago that a little girl walked on stage, ukulele in hand, and proceeded to captivate the entire world. Even Simon told her that he believed she was the next Taylor Swift. Winning America's Got Talent, this girl would be flung into the spotlight, and she capitalized on that by releasing multiple songs, a Disney Channel movie, and continuing to pump out content on social media. But in the years that follow it, things began to change. Her style changed, her messaging changed, and slowly but surely she began to fall out of the limelight. But everything really started when she posted this video. The full story is on my channel as a full-length YouTube video, and don't forget to like and follow.
This is a different level of down bad. I have never seen a fan base so hungry for another season. People are now trying to theorize that the sparks that Seuss is holding when the timer went off has Morse code within them. And unironically enough, they do have Morse code within them, which is kind of nuts, and it translates to I eat and most likely people. And if this actually is the case, and that's what the Morse code means, obviously Bill Cipher's doing, but we need to give this a rest. The second season ended 10 years ago. I am a firm believer that we're never going to get season 3, and I am one of the biggest Gravity Falls fans on the planet. But come on. Morse code through sparks? Really? Man, we are one desperate fan base right now. Yeah, not one of the most, probably the most desperate fan base right now. I'm not even too mad that we don't have a season 3 by this point. I mean, we just got an entire lore dump of Bill Cipher with the Book of Bill. And I know Gravity Falls is super cryptic with hidden messages, but I just think this one is a complete reach in my honest opinion.